All right, let's jump right in. We're back in the archives of the Shadow Cabinet, this incredible library of forbidden ideas. But today's mystery, it isn't some dusty, forgotten scroll. No, it's a shadow being cast by the most dominant, most accepted idea of our time. And we're about to figure out what it is.
So, our protagonist, the Seeker, he asks this exact question. He's waded through nihilists and cynics, all the fringe stuff, but this is totally new. It's a shadow that's growing not from being hidden, but from being everywhere all at once. So, what is it? Let's find out.
And where do we find the source of this shadow? Well, it's in a part of the archives with a pretty chilling name, the ultimate inversion. And get this, inside there's no ancient text. There's just a modern, perfectly polished mirror. This whole thing, it's not about looking back at history. It's about looking at ourselves, right now.
The archivist breaks it down. What the Seeker is looking at, what we're looking at, is the final victory of what Nietzsche called the last man. This is the triumph of a mindset that, instead of trying to walk the dangerous tightrope of life, has just lowered the wire to the floor, all to make absolutely sure that no one can ever fall.
Of course, this new, risk-free world, it needs a prophet, right? A figurehead. And he's described as something more than a god. He's more like an anesthesia. He numbs the herd to the challenges and pains of just being alive. And this prophet, he has a name. They call him Salvio Pulido.
So, what's in a name? A lot, actually. Salvio Pulido basically translates to the Pale Redeemer. And think about that word, pale. Not glowing with passion or the fire of creation, but washed out. The color of total safety, of absolute stillness. He's the central figure we're going to be talking about.
Now this is where the rubber meets the road. The archivist explains that Salvio Pulido has effectively replaced the traditional Holy Trinity, which is all about immense risk and growth, with his own sterile version, safety, comfort, and stagnation. This isn't just a simple swap, it's a complete rewiring of our highest values. I mean, think about it. The old Trinity was anything but safe. You have the Father representing creation, which is always destructive and dangerous. You have the Son, the crucified will, the idea that you have to sacrifice your comfort for something bigger. And then there's the Spirit, just pure chaos, that unpredictable gust of wind that could knock you off the tightrope at any second.
And boom, there it is. That is the fundamental difference right there in one line. The old way demanded struggle, sacrifice, a direct confrontation with danger. But Salvio Pulido, our Pale Redeemer, he makes a totally different promise. He doesn't offer you strength to face risk. He offers you complete and total immunity from it.
So how do you sign up for this new religion? Oh, it's easy. It's a simple, three-step path that leads you away from all the messy chaos of life. First, you make safety your #1 priority, above everything. Then, you make comfort your highest goal. And the result, the holy grail of this new faith, is stagnation. A perfect, predictable life where nothing ever changes. The central metaphor for this entire philosophy is what they call the polished floor. It's what replaces the tightrope. It's safe, it's smooth, and all it does reflect your own image back at you, over and over. It's a whole worldview built on this simple, very comforting lie. If you just refuse to look down, the abyss isn't really there.
And here's a fascinating contrast the parable makes. The old Pharisee, he was a guardian of the law. Yeah, it was rigid, but it was aimed at some kind of higher standard. Salvio's different. He's not the guardian of the law, he's the guardian of the loophole. He teaches the herd how to be just small enough, just weak enough, to be completely excused from all the hard parts of life. And this isn't just some external system, It becomes a voice inside your own head. Salvio becomes this little internal jester, the one who makes fun of your ambition, who whispers, don't bother, just play it safe. He tells you that greatness, it's just too expensive. It's not worth the trouble. And this is the ultimate inversion, the final, twisted masterpiece. The person who rejects safety, the one who creates and strives and actually walks the wire, the overman, is now the bad guy. They get labeled evil. Why? Because their ambition, their light, it disturbs the comfortable, sleepy darkness of everyone else in the valley.
I mean, just let that sink in for a second. That is the damning summary of it all. Salvio's salvation isn't freedom for your soul, it's freedom from your soul. He offers to put out that inner fire, to redeem you from the burden of wanting more, of that divine discontent. He offers peace, sure, but it's the peace of an empty room.
So you can see why Salvio Polito, and the silence he represents, is basically the arch nemesis of everything the Shadow Cabinet stands for. The whole point of the cabinet is to go on these intellectual salvage missions to recover dangerous, forgotten ideas. Well, Salvio is the one burying them in the first place.
So how do you fight back? What's the countermove? Well, according to the archivist, you have to reject the empty symbols of comfortable belief, that polished cross of gold people wear as a trinket. Instead, you have to embrace the reality behind it, the crucified will, the principle of real, meaningful sacrifice. It means you have to actively go looking for those dangerous ideas that make you uncomfortable. And that leaves the seeker, and really all of us, with the big question. It's one thing to understand all this, but what actually happens if you choose to live this way? What's the real consequence of saying no thanks to Salvio Polito's offer?
And the answer? It's not easy, but it's clear. First, you have to leave the comfortable valley of the last man behind you. Then, you step onto the wire yourself. And you stop looking for a crowd to blend into. Instead, you start looking for companions, the few other people who also chose to walk the wire.
And we're left with this final, haunting thought from the archivist. That polished floor offers a life of safe, comfortable self-reflection. But the wire demands your full attention. It forces you to look forward, not at yourself. It offers no reflection, only the path ahead. And that choice, as always, is yours.